How you doing? I'm Dan. I'm from Hamilton, and I play bass in the Fumes. So growing up, I guess most likely, from my earliest memories, my dad would have been a pretty big influence with regards to music and sports. Those were his two big things. He was an excellent athlete, and we were always watching hockey and baseball around the house. And just I was always completely obsessed with his records. And some of my earliest memories would be like I don't know how old I was, but living in Montreal and being maybe I don't know 3, 4, being on his knee with his massive fucking headphones on my head that can barely support the weight, and hearing whatever he was playing, the Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Supertramp, just all this great classic rock stuff, Janis Joplin, Bob Dylan. There's a good chance he was drinking more than beer back then. It being pretty close, just not too far removed from the '60s. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely early on with music, and would be my dad would be ground zero. So my dad liked listening to music a lot, and uh, we were basically constantly exposed to you know his record collection or whatever, the radio, cruising around. Uh, we would take our they would get their holidays. My parents would go camping out in whatever provincial park we'd be going to, and this had to be one of the years. Last year's we went camping with them because getting kind of like into our late mid-teens, 16 specifically. Now, the big song that summer was this Kim Mitchell song called "Patio Lanterns," um, and I can remember, the radio being on at the house and patio lanterns coming on, and we're packing all our stuff away. And it seemed to me, um, you know, as you're driving, you're going through different fucking zones for the radio, and every zone you went through, like patio lanterns would come on, and we get to the campsite, and I'll just state like my mother. Uh, like back then, I could swear like I'd never seen her mad or swear or anything. I think she embraces her salty side these days. She'll drop an f bomb here and there and have a laugh. But back then, I mean, like I said, I don't think I'd seen her mad. So like I said, we went through I don't know how many fucking these radio zones, and every time Patio Lantern would come on, we get to the campsite finally. My dad gets the radio out, cracks a beer, flips on the radio, and Patio Lanterns comes on. And I'll never forget this. I think my mom's face went red a bit, and the vein popped out in her forehead, and she went, "Turn that fucking song off." That was the end of Kim Mitchell and her family forever. When you're kind of finding your own way, once you've worked your way through all your dad's records, and you start listening to the radio on your own, you get to that, you're in high school or grade school, and you're starting to discover, band. I had a friend, one of my best friends, call him. We still hang out all the time. You'd go down to the States and come back with like just a whack of fucking great records. Um, Ozzy and Van Halen and Motley Crue, and just fucking, you're just discovering this stuff, and it was like the coolest thing to like, you'd be going out with the blaster on your shoulder and just this horrible cliche stuff, but I mean, you thought you were the shit, and you're like, you get your license and you're gonna go driving around, and you turn on whatever Q107 and you hear running with the Devil by Van Halen for the first time, and that fucking bass, boom, 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 right? Just fucking, you're like, what is this? And fucking Eddie Van Halen's guitar comes in, and you get the fucking goosebumps, and that you just start to have these discoveries, and and your friends are discovering too. And I'd go to whatever my friend Ian's place. We watch Toronto Rocks or whatever, and you'd see like, uh, you know, Are You Ready by Hateful Snake or fucking like Venom. Like you hear Venom for the first time and fucking you look around like over your shoulders to make sure your parents aren't watching, and you're like, I'm going to hell after I watch Witching Hour, you know? And you just have these great moments like that. And just the discovery, right, of these bands that are, like I said, like the Van Halen or my neighbor, AJ, his family was from England. They fuck off to England. He comes back with like a couple of copies of Mayfair and Dirty Deeds. Like, what the fuck is this? I got boobs over here in these magazines and fucking, we got big balls and fucking another one, right? Like, you didn't even understand half the references, but it was just amazing, discovery, right? Bon Scott for the first time. You're like, what the fuck is this? And I think just those early discoveries with your friends in school, just big influence, and you just carry them today. I mean, if you run into a friend today, you still probably talk about the first time you heard AC/DC or Black Sabbath together. I think I got into punk in a pretty roundabout fashion. It was always kind of in the mix. Like in my formative years, when you're kind of discovering your own sounds, your bands you might like or genres, there was just a lot in the mix. Like it wasn't necessarily a defined genre for me at that time. And back then you didn't really have the internet yet, like Circus Magazine or Hit Parade and what you saw at the record store that might pop out at you, or like word of mouth stuff, or pop on the radio and what did you hear, and so like for example, like I would have like the latest Billy Idol single without really realizing he was from like Generation X, or one of my first records, I think singles that I bought was like Joan Jett, like Crimson and Clover or I Love Rock and Roll, without knowing she's the Runaways or just stuff like that. Like you're just like on the fringe, and you don't really know, or I didn't know, quite where it was coming from. But if it sounded good, I liked it. So I mean, it didn't matter if it was, after aforementioned Billy Idol, or latest Aussie album or something. Like, it sounded great. You listened to it, and it wasn't really a genre to me until I was a lot older, I think, where it became a little more different. Like the Ramones would be punk, Aerosmith would be rock or something. But to me, it's all like in the mix, and if it's got like guitars, drums, bass, vocal, like Lemmy says, it's all rock and roll, right? A lot of people think they're metal, Motorhead. Some people think they're punk, or they bridge the gap between the two. But Lemmy, it was all rock and roll, and that's kind of how I feel about punk and the music I like. It's all fucking rock and roll to me, and I really don't give a shit about genres. I don't know if that answers the question well enough, but it's what I got. So first concert was in 1984 at Hamilton Place. It was Kick-Axe and Helix. Helix headlined. And it's kind of funny, like, looking back at that now, because, like, when Helix came out, they were, like, when they first got on my radar, watching Much Music, you're seeing these huge bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Scorpions, and then you'd see like Helix. So you just kind of considered them part of that group. You flip through like Hit Parader, and there'd be Helix, Iron Maiden, Motorhead. And you think you're hearing the song on the radio, and you think they're massive. And at the time, you don't realize they're just like this Canadian band from like Kitchener or whatever that are starting to do pretty good. And so that was my first concert. And first punk rock show, not 100% sure, but it would have to be probably guessing Teenage Head. Either that or the Rebels. Two big Hamilton bands that, I'm sure I was old enough to see, like I went and saw. Not because they were punk, but because, it's whatever, Saturday night, and it was going to be the place to be, and you end up seeing great bands. I remember one of my, with regards to Teenage Head, and again, like, fuck, I remember being like, however old, like 14 or something. I'm walking down King Street, and outside of Bannisters, there's this like yellow Rider van, and all this gear is being unloaded out onto the sidewalk, and you see these road cases say Teenage Head on them. There's Teenage Head on the radio, and you don't. I'm not worldly at that point, no fucking internet. I mean, it just seemed like the biggest thing, the biggest deal, and you had a pretty good chance of running into them at the liquor store. They're local, and but they just seemed so big at that time, and that's a memory I'll just never forget. Is that fucking van, and just the road cases, and eventually getting to see Teenage Head a whole bunch of times. So I was, it was going to be either Teenage Head or Forgotten Rebels for the first punk show for sure. Probably my favorite shows Iron fucking Maiden. Seen them 11 times. Taken my kids since probably 2011. Every show they've played in Toronto. Iron fucking Maiden. Fucking rules live. A few of my other favorite shows definitely would be like Corrosion of Conformity. Saw them at Lee's Palace. My ears are still ringing. Mike Dean is like one of the best bassists I've ever seen in my life live. Prong was amazing. Tommy Victor, amazing guitar sound. Just an amazing show. Motorhead, I've seen a couple times. Never disappoints. One of my favorite shows is probably Junkyard at Rock and Roll Heaven. Saw them with the Black Crowes opening up, and Black Crowes probably shouldn't have gotten out of bed that morning because they got their fucking asses handed to them. Junkyard gets confused, I think, with Hair Rock from Hollywood or whatever, but they had Brian Baker from Bad Religion, and Dag Nasty, and Chris Gates from the Big Boys, and definitely a hard punk vibe to them with a lot of bluesy hard riffs. It's just one of those bands I fucking love. So craziest thing that ever happened at a show. This would be in the 90s, and I was playing in a band called Trash Gallery at the time. So a couple of us, the guitar player Paul, drummer Jay, and then my good friend Greg, decided we're just going to kind of pick up and go to New York City. No plan, nothing. We're just going to go. Same weekend as New York City Marathon, so the hotel rooms were like, mostly all booked. We were able to get a hotel. The hotel was called the Gorham, which Steven Tyler lived there in the 70s, so we thought that was pretty cool. We were able to get that because Greg was the only one with a credit card, and he had his shit together more than the rest of us back then. And we drove out there in Jay's I don't know what it was, like an 86 Dodge Caravan or something ridiculous, pale powder blue. I don't even know. I really don't know how we got across the border, but we did. And one of the things that was pretty cool that I remember to this day was we went through the Lincoln Tunnel, and like you're on one side, and everything seems kind of like normal, and it's like this gateway to like chaos. It's the Lincoln Tunnel. You just come through on the other side, and it's like everything from every fucking New York movie you've ever seen. Just like a million fucking yellow taxis and a million people and fucking trucks here and fucking people doing shit everywhere. Like, it was just fucking bananas. Like from normal just to fucking bananas in like a minute. And it was like a sensory overload. You know, you're like fucking dog at the window, you know, like looking out at fucking squirrels or something. And so we get to the hotel, the Gorham, and load up on all our beer. What are we going to do? Well, we've got to go to fucking CBGB's. So, you know, we find one of the million taxi cabs, right? And take us to CBGB's. And pull up, and it looks just like you fucking would think. It's a shithole. And so we're just like thrilled. And it was some night where there had to be about 10, 12 bands playing. And the only band of any renown that I can recall was a band called the Goops. That really energetic female lead singer who performed in her bra at some point and the band just looked like kind of like these blonde-haired Billy Idol like wannabes, you know. But they I think their claim to fame was eventually being on the Something About Mary soundtrack or something. But very, very cool show. You know, we're just nailing fucking Rolling Rocks, and you're going to the bathroom and you're like, I just pissed where Johnny Ramone pissed. It's fucking amazing. And so at some point, like, things are kind of winding down, and I saunter out onto the street by myself, and this dude in a tuxedo just kind of hanging out there, and he kind of wanders up to me. He's like, hey man. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, all right. He goes, you see that car over there? Look over, and it's like a limousine. I'm like, yeah? He goes, well, I drive that. He goes, my fare fucked off early. You know, if you got some friends stuff, we can just fucking just drive you guys around. Now, being naive Canadian kids, it's a fucking great idea. For all we know, he was like fucking the next son of Sam, you know. This could have been it for us, but it wasn't. We hit the local store, fucking whatever. Like how many fucking cases of beer we bought. Picking up like total strangers, fucking dropping them off at hotels and just people we meet and stuff. Just cruising around Manhattan, having a great fucking time. And at some point, the driver decides he needs some. He's gonna get a hooker. We're like, well, it's your car, your rules, but you know, it's not our bag, you know. So keeping this as PG as I can, you know, there was a polite golf clap on our behalf when everything was finished, and you know, we invited him over to stay at our hotel because he was from Jersey, and he didn't steal anything. We nicknamed him Cabby. Kind of reminded us maybe like David Johansen's character from what's that fucking movie? Scrooge. From Scrooge, right? Niagara Falls, right? Just it was just so the next night we're like, now what? Like, you just can't fucking beat that night. Like, we had this crazy CBGB's limo fucking crazy night. And now what? You might as well just fucking call it a day. So we I think, had Burger King for dinner and wandered around Times Square like chumps. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. That one of the craziest gigs I've been to for sure. Okay, past bands, the early ones, you're just with your friends, you're jamming out, you're doing covers. Probably the first real band I was in was Infectious. They were out of Toronto. I kind of went and did an audition. Uh, I think they liked my luck more than my bass playing at the time. It was going for the sort of Lords of the New Church sort of vibe. Um, and played a lot of shows around Toronto, Gasworks, Opera House, Nag's Head. We did a cool tour out the West Coast and back with another band called Jack Damage, and uh, it was just a lot of fun, and you're still friends with most of those people, when you're in a band, like, those guys are like your brothers, no matter how it ended, like, it would have to end pretty horribly not to still be friends, and still talk to a lot of those guys today. After Infectious, I played in a band called Manic Overture. Little bit out of my league, those guys. They were all like just fantastic players, and probably a band that I honestly think should have made it. Like, really had the shit. Um, and again, still talk to a couple of those guys. Great guys. We actually played last night at the Gasworks when the Gasworks was going to shut down. It was a big, massive concert. The place was crammed. Everything was on the news. It was a really special show to be a part of, and definitely glad I was. From there, I came back to Hamilton and joined a band called Trash Gallery that's actually still going to this day in one form or another. And definitely one of my favorite bands, just music-wise, but like, just probably the story of my life is like fucking, the band's too rock and roll to be punk, not punk enough to be rock, fucking not metal enough to be this, or, it's just, but honestly, I think those are the best sort of bands where, you're not blatantly ripping off some band or some genre, you're just kind of doing what you do, and it's original, and, I went on a huge hiatus, probably 10, 15 years of not even picking up a fucking bass. There was dust on all my stuff. And I got lured out of whatever, retirement. I don't know if you can be retired from something you don't get paid for, but...
Hibernation.
Right. And just to do covers, my friend, one of my best friends, Iggy, fucking got me. We're just doing covers with a couple guys from Martian Rebel. So I met those guys, and then they had a drummer named Tom, and fucking we all got along. It was a lot of fun, and I kind of asked, like, hey, you guys want to do some originals, and I was basically kind of shot down on that. And so I basically said to Tom, I'm like, would you be interested in fucking doing something like that? He was like, fuck yeah, and so we just kind of set about like starting the Fumes. And we didn't want, like, basically anyone local. Like, we already knew everyone that we knew, and we didn't want to fucking, you don't want the same guitar player that's going to make you sound like the same fucking band, or the same singers going to make you sound like the same fucking band. It's like we wanted something just different. So we found a guitar player out of Toronto. He was actually a guy from Quebec, Clyde, and the three of us got together and started just kind of punching out some original songs right off the bat, and it really had a good, energetic, fucking good vibe, great vibe. And I got to backtrack just a bit here, because this is kind of how we found our singer, was doing this Martian Rebel thing at the Corktown, and we're playing with a few other bands, Prior Convictions, Bank on Sunday, and some other band. Now, I hadn't heard any of these other bands, and I'm out in the parking lot at the Corktown. I'm just getting some stuff out of my van, and I could hear the beginning of Teenage Head's Disgusting start. Someone's sound checking, and fucking vocals kick in. I'm like, and the fucking hair stood up on my fucking arm, my neck, everything. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, there was Sturge in the pants. Okay, like, I'm like, that's gotta be my fucking vocalist. This guy was just, he just hits that fucking, for me, like, that sweet spot with like vocals with, it just has a certain amount of fucking grit and attitude and energy, like Lemmy had that, like fucking Bon Scott. Like, I'm not comparing him pound for pound like that, but like those are the things that like attracted me to bands like bands like the Hangman or Junkyard. These very fucking unique, gritty, fucking dirty vocal, and there's no sitting on the fucking fence. Okay, like you're either gonna hate this motherfucker or you're gonna love him. You're never gonna walk away going, hey, that was all right, And he was playing with the Prior Convictions guys, and me and Tom cornered him in the bathroom at the Corktown. He's trying to take a piss, and we're like, you're a fucking singer. And that was it. That was Al. I fucking love that guy. He's fucking... Every practice I go to, I fucking just want to hear him fucking sing, And it just... Every fucking practice, I get the fucking goosebumps, the hair raises up. His fucking lyrics are great. He's one of those guys that just fucking gives it straight down the center. No actual agenda, but if you're a fucking decent person, like his lyrics will resonate with you. And I just can't say enough about him. Fucking love that guy. But moving ahead, things weren't working out chemistry-wise after a while with the Fumes. There was fucking... It got to be like the air got sucked out of the fucking room all the time. And sometimes it's just best to fucking kind of go your own way. So basically me, Al, and actually we got my friend Matt from Belleville on guitar now. And he gave fucking the band a real kick in the ass with his fucking originals. Just such a great fucking punk rock writer and a hard rock writer, and well, now we need a drummer and another guitar player. Well, I call my buddy Jay from Trash Gallery, and he's like, fuck yeah. So now we got Jay. Like, well, Matt can't make it down from Belleville all the time, so now we need another guitar player. So we get Neen from Trash Gallery now. So now we got 3 guys, Trash Gallery guys, plus Al, my buddy Matt, and it's just like this... Every time we practice, there's this creative fucking swirling fucking vortex of fucking just music coming out all the time. But you don't even know what you're gonna get. It doesn't sound the same this day to the next, and it's like we're just really enjoying fucking jamming and writing right now. Now we'll be out soon enough when we can, when it's ready, when we can be like the band's just gonna come out and kick you in the nuts, and again, the important thing, you don't want people walking out going, that's okay. Like, fucking love us, hate us. That's kind of like the goal. We hope you love us, but if you don't, then at least fucking hate us. What I like, it's just definitely like the jamming, the bonding. You're a gang, your brothers. If you got a gal, your sisters. If you're in a band, you can relate. And as a truck driver, I work a lot of hours. I get up at stupid times, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. You're putting in 12, 13, 14-hour days. I get home, drag my ass home, fucking exhausted. All I want to do is kick my feet off, boots off, and watch a bit of TV, and you go, oh, fuck, I don't want to go jam. And, you just drag your carcass out the door, and then as soon as you walk through the fucking door at the jam hall, and you see your friends, see your band, put on your bass, your guitar, get behind the drums, whatever. It's just like you get energized, and the adrenaline starts going, and you start having laughs and fucking you're creating another fucking memory, and you're creating music, and I fucking love that. And like I said, no matter how fucking tired or unmotivated I'm feeling, like it just all fucking melts away, like the second you walk through that door. And just and again, you create friends for life like that. What I don't like fucking chasing people. I don't like motivating people. Like, you want to do this, just fucking do it. Okay, I don't chase you. I don't want to fucking wait 2 weeks for an answer. I don't want to pick you up and drive you around. Okay, you're a fucking adult. Okay, if you're on the way, I don't give a shit. I'm not a dick. Take the bus. Yeah, I'm driving by your house. Like, I'm not a dick. But like, shouldn't be paying your fucking way and be your personal chauffeur. Like, if you're an adult, like, get your shit together. I don't like that aspect, and like I said, fucking I'm chasing people for fucking answers about this or that. I don't fucking like it. You want to do it, just let's do it, and fucking that's doing it's the best fucking part. Most embarrassing moment. I would say, gather around, kids. Try and relay this as best as I can. Me and a friend who I got to be really vague here, first of all, to protect the guilty. I still see this person from time to time. So we have to protect the guilty here. So I got to be. It's musical. I just can't give you any like actual date, time, place. So a friend and I were out. We'd partied pretty heavily and retired to our hotel. And he'd asked me, he's like, hey, can I use your phone? He didn't want to use a hotel phone. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm out. And little did I know, he had back pages of the local music magazine. And he was looking for a little, I guess, hooker action. Now, I better pump the brakes here for a second and explain. You're probably thinking to yourself, dude's got 10 questions, 2 are about hookers. And you'd be right. But I'm a big fan of context, so I'm going to attempt to provide some. First off, I've got like 1,000 music memories, stories, anecdotes, going back to like when I was shitting a diaper. It just turns out that a couple of the more memorable stories are entertaining enough to be contained within like this 10 questions. So I hope that's suitable enough. And besides, who doesn't have 2 hooker stories? Who? So he's using my phone. I'm out. And he's calling this number. He's like, hey, how long, how much, what do you do, blah, blah. Okay, I'll call you back. Call the next number. Hey, how much, when can you get here, blah, blah, right? And he's calling, I don't know how many numbers, 10 numbers, whatever. And he decides he's going back through with the phone. And he's going to call back one that I guess he thought was favorable. But, a couple hours away in Burlington, Ontario, at my parents' house at 2 a.m, the phone rings. So on the call display, it's my number, so the phone gets answered, and basically my mother starts getting propositioned for certain favors at agreed upon prices. Needless to say, since it was coming from my number. Seeing my parents the next day was a little awkward, and I think we put that whole incident in the rearview mirror as quickly as possible. My favorite food, it's probably a toss up between pizza and tacos. Uh, but I mean, tacos are pretty fucking great. Um, and what's not to like about tacos? Uh, Make them hot, fucking dump all your favorite ingredients on them. You could stuff a pizza into a fucking taco shell. It's just great, and I love it. I would like to take this opportunity, Steve, to actually thank you. Uh, for all you do. I mean, you've been filming bands for fucking couple decades. You don't get paid. You do it out of love and passion, and it comes through in your work. And I've really enjoyed the 10 questions series you put out. And I'm glad to be included. I appreciate that, man. We should definitely go out and maybe have a fucking burrito or a Taco Bell. Their fucking fries supreme, some hot sauce, fucking Pepsi.